We're at AirVenture 2011, talking with Art Tarola, one of the distributors in the United States for Evektor Aerotechnique, and they have been a notable company in this field for a long time for one really big reason, and the number is 1. This is the first, not this one, but this company has the very first SLSA approval ever back in April of 2005. Over the years, they made a lot of changes to an airplane many people know as the Sports Star, and in fact that changed so much that it was worthy of a new SLSA number, I believe, but they were taking small steps at a time and went another route. But now we've got one that has a new SLSA number. This happens to be 119 on the list, and this is the Harmony LSA. Art, there's a number of things that you've told me about on this airplane, one of which is very clearly this compounded wing here that takes an angle right here and then curves toward the tip. But that's sort of the thing that some people might notice right away. Tell me about a couple of the other things. Maybe the control surfaces changed.
Well, the control surfaces on the wings, the ailerons are longer than they were before. There's more control surface on the rudder and the elevator also.
And how does that benefit you?
Well, it allows...
Make it faster or what?
No, it's actually greater crosswind component control.
Okay.
So when it's flying slow, you just have more surface area to work with.
And how slow can it fly?
This stalls at 37 knots.
So at 37 knots, you need a little more surface area to keep it under control at those speeds.
That's correct.
Would this be a useful feature for a flight school?
Absolutely.
One of the key components, I'm guessing.
Yes, it would be. A flight student on this would be very comfortable at the slower speeds.
Evektor's had a good success in flight schools, I know. There's a number of them being used around the country. So
yes, we have over 100 airplanes here in the United States, and the vast majority of those are in flight schools.
Is that right?
Is that
right?
Yes.
So now, I suppose you've talked to. This is brand new. This just came into the country, did it not?
Yes, it did. Yeah,
How long
this is
ago?
the first show last week.
Last week. So this is pretty fresh hardware here. I think it's the name Harmony has been around in Europe, but this is a different Harmony than they know there, is it not?
Yes, this is the Harmony LSA. It fits into the 600 kilo or the 1320 LSA category. They have a Harmony in Europe that is a 450 kilo category.
That's the
a little bit
microlight
smaller,
category.
smaller
Okay. So they could get a little bigger, a little more comfortable in this.
That's correct.
We're going to talk about some of those things, but while we mention it, this is a little bigger airplane. This company does some other bigger yet stuff. They are one of the original, if you want to call them an LSA company, that had a 4-seater. Been around for several years, called the Cobra, and more recently, what is that, a 9 or 11 seat?
It's actually
twin turbine flying.
It actually can be converted from 9 to 14 seats and carry up to 4,000 pounds of cargo.
So
it's
clearly, this is a
turbo
company that can do some bigger stuff and has done so, and that airplane is flying too.
Yes,
as I
that's
recall.
correct.
So a new thing for Evektor, and in a couple of new ways, but our focus is on the Harmony LSA. So we talked about the wing, we talked about the control surfaces. I'm seeing a parachute here. Looks like the installation. I'll step in front of the camera and point this out. Right here is a panel. It's made to come out easily when the rocket motor is fired. And right here you see a special fairing that covers a strap that goes to the rear. The point being to hold the airplane up front where the majority of the weight will be borne, but the one in the back gives it a stability so that it comes down just like it sits here. You don't expect to use these things, but they sure are nice to have on board. Is that right?
That's correct.
It gives you kind of a peace of mind and probably makes you a better pilot because you don't have to worry about bad stuff happening. You got another option, fly the plane. Okay, that's an argument.
Yes.
What else is different though? The airplane you said is a little bigger because it can be in the
here
U.S.?
in the fuselage area, we actually moved our firewall forward 4 inches, and it affords us to be able to move the pedals even further forward so we can get that 7-foot-plus guy with the long legs in there comfortably. It also gave us a longer wheelbase, which gives us more stable ground handling.
Okay, the nose wheel came forward in that change, so
That's
you've got
correct.
a little longer this way, which means a little less of this going down an uneven surface?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Which again would be a nice thing for a student. That kind of action would be disconcerting to a lot of new flyers, I'm thinking.
Yes, the longer the wheelbase, the more stable it's going to
So
be.
big, tall guys, a little easier wheelbase. But was there any change in how you linked up the steering and so forth then, too?
It is changed. If you can look underneath, you'll see that the pedals are going through the floor. You have rods that go up to the steering arm for the steering now rather than going through the firewall, which is the best.
Okay, so they were up where you could see them and so forth. Is that any difference to the pilot? Does he sense any difference there?
This airplane has a nice solid feel on the feet and has a turning radius that will turn you around in the taxiway. So
Is
that's,
that right?
That's a great
Now, how did
improvement.
that change occur that you can turn around? That's a tighter turn than before.
Oh yes,
significantly,
it is.
right?
Much tighter turn.
And
than
how
it was
does that
before.
action happen that you can turn so much tighter?
It's changing the geometry. Everything has been
You turn the
changed.
wheel more literally.
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
And that's because of some of those linkage changes you told us about.
that's correct.
Any difference in the cockpit other than the rudder pedals?
The cockpit had been upgraded in 2009 with the more
That was with
comforting.
the Max of the Sports Star?
Yeah, the Max, SL Max. We have automotive style, sports star style interior now with console and cup holders, snack trays.
Got to have those cup holders.
You gotta have
Now,
it.
one of the ways that company, Evektor Aero Technique, might know something about that is, I'm aware, they do quite a bit of auto engineering, don't they?
Yes, they do. They have a lot of guys coming into work doing engineering every day. I believe there's 285 guys come in the design department. And
285 just design guys.
right.
I've seen the building. It's a pretty big, impressive, multi-story building, and so there's a vast amount of engineering talent. I know they do work in the Czech Republic for some of the auto companies there, but that same technology can be applied to the airplane somewhat, can it?
Correct.
So it's a lovely looking interior. Other flight characteristics, anything change about its performance in the Harmony change?
Yes, with the change in the wing design, it made a faster rolling airplane. Dan, I think the last time you flew it, we were where? 3.5 seconds? 45
The
to
classic
45?
45 to 45 reversal? And
well,
what do you think it is now? Or what do you know it is
it's
now?
got to be 2 seconds faster. I mean, it really
Wow,
rolls fast.
that's quite a bit quicker. Now,
Yeah.
okay, we were talking about students earlier and how some of this benefits a student. Would that not be a problem for a student to have it be fast?
No, because it's not sensitive on the stick. You've got a good, honest feedback of the stick on both sides. So it's not. So you.
There's probably a lot of range in which you had to get it all the way over before that fast stuff happens. Is
That's
that right?
correct. It won't happen in the middle.
Great. Most students tend to not want to move it too much anyway,
Yeah,
so
true.
that probably works out pretty good. What else is new about the airplane that you could observe for us, Art?
It's longer. It's white. It's got graphics on it. They changed the design of the holes in the cowling.
Yeah, I noticed this air inlet up here is a little bit different.
Yes, they've gone a little bit smaller with it in an attempt to gain more speed and be more efficient.
Now, this uses the Rotax 912 engine in it, of course, like
Yes.
so many of our LSA do. So they don't really need inlets quite the same way because they're liquid cooled.
Correct.
But how does this help? Therefore, they could make these smaller. Any cooling issues as a result?
No, it's running perfectly.
Okay. And the air inlet for the radiators down here,
Correct.
these are just some direct air cooling for the cylinder?
For the cylinders, which are air cooled, and then even below that radiator is an inlet for the oil cooler.
Great.
The wheel spats or wheel pants have changed. Now the wheel pants are coming down much lower and surround more of the tire,
I was just going to
making
say, I
it
can barely see a tire in there. You do have one in there, right?
There was when I put the spat on there.
It must have rolled into position, but yeah, they do come down. I mean, with the tall grass, it hasn't been pounded down around the airplane. You've had a lot of people looking at it, obviously. I can barely see the tire back there, too. Right?
And there's a fairing going from that wheel pant to the actual leg, and that's all in the pursuit
Oh, yeah,
of
okay,
more
that's a
speed.
little different, too, the
More
transition there to the gear, or to the leg. So, when the sports car first came out, it was not the fastest in the fleet.
No, it
They
wasn't.
used to run, as I recall, the first ones, which had, frankly, a little clunkier looking cockpit area. They tried to widen it for Americans that eat a lot of hamburgers, and that made it a little clunkier. They've smoothed that up very nice along the way.
Back
That's
then
got some increments.
We were happy at 95 knots and thought we were doing
Yeah.
pretty good. And each airplane along the way, as you said, has gotten a little bit changed, a little bit better, a little bit better. Very, very progressive engineering department who's not afraid.
Well, you got to do
make
something
those
with all
changes.
those 285 engineers,
They
right?
gotta make them
so
pay,
get
right?
busy, make it fly faster. How much faster does it go now?
Well, it goes 115 knots in the cruise. Actually, on the way
75% cruise? That
here.
kind of.
Yes. Actually, this one was 117 knots.
You saw 117 knots.
Yes.
Airspeed and calibrated and all that.
Yes.
Excellent. Well, those are real strong numbers. That's near the top of the range you can possibly be. So we've asked you a lot of questions, Art, but where would we go get even more information about this airplane on the web?
You can get information on this airplane at Dan Johnson's website, bydanjohnson.com, or from the Evektor website at evektor.com.
Evektor.com. That's spelled with a K. You can see on Art's hat up here. So Evektor.com or ByDanJohnson.com. I've done reviews on several. Waiting to do one on the Harmony LSA, but you can find all that information on ByDanJohnson.com or aircraftreporters.tv.